That's why YouTube videos just have weird random cuts for no reason. Too spoopy. Tom DeLuise is dead? Freak tearaway pant accident caught my drawers once. Ooh.
Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of We Talking About. I'm Zim.
I'm Lee.
And today we're talking about the Mandela effect. Are you familiar with this, Lee?
Yes.
So tell me what you know about the Mandela effect.
This is Nelson Mandela's healing effect on spreading peace and passivity throughout the world.
Very close. Okay. So the Mandela effect is actually the premise that history at some point has been a little fuckified, and people are remembering things differently. So some things are very common items, like...
well, so Nelson Mandela is a supervillain who's been fucking with everyone's brain.
Nelson Mandela is named... It's named the Mandela effect because many people believe Mandela died at a different time than he did. So I can recall learning about Nelson Mandela in school. I still don't remember 100% about what he was, but I remember hearing him dying in prison.
Yeah, he died in like 92 or something like that.
In actuality, he died in like 92 or something like that. No, it's
what?
2000. No, it was.
Don't have years.
I can't remember the date off my head, but like.
Is he dead?
He is dead.
Oh, okay.
But I think he died in like the early 2000s, like 2006
yeah, I
or
remember,
something.
What was he on? A fucking
but I remember him dying. I thought was in like the 80s or late 80s maybe.
Ooh, what am I remembering? I remember I have a freak memory. Memory is important here, so this is important that I do this with the showy hand thing. I think Chris Rock made a joke about... Yeah, he has a thing in his comedy routine. He's like Nelson Mandela got divorced. He was in prison for this long, dealt with like torture and like whatever, and he got out. His loving wife was there to greet him. A couple of years later, he's like, I cannot put up with this. I'm out, or something like that, after enduring this long like prison thing or whatever. So I think that's why. I don't know what year that was, though. I have no idea about the years.
But regardless,
yeah.
So for me personally, the Mandela effect, in name alone, does not like that effect. Like the reason it's named is not my biggest thing here.
Okay,
the
so
things that
so
really get me, and I'm going to bring them up to you in question format so that I can see your first impression, and then give you what the real answer is. Will solidify what this problem really is.
So it's named after Nelson Mandela because there's an epic degree of people misremembering it?
When this happened, that was the biggest one. But for me, a more of a movie buff and younger, where Mandela was not a big part of my life, that is not the biggest cause for me. I would call this something else, maybe after this.
Give it a better name.
So the most famous line between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader from Star Wars is what?
Where he says, you killed my father, and then he says, I am your father. Boom.
That was close, but in neither reality is that exactly how it goes.
Well, yeah. So what does everyone quote? They say, "Luke, I am your father." Right?
Correct.
Yes.
That is the take home thing. That is what I remember from the movie.
That's on like comedies and movies or something.
Everything.
Like
anything of it.
How I Met Your Mother would go, Luke. Who does that in a movie? Fucking
James Earl Jones.
No, not in the real movie.
You weren't specific.
Someone imitated it. It was Jeff Goldblum imitates that at some point in some
I'm
funny
sure
movie,
it's been imitated a billion times.
Yes.
But so the biggest thing for me is I remember that. Luke, I am your father.
Right.
And when you watch the movie now, and I had to go back to my VHS copy to watch this to see, because I was told by the world that now it is no, I'm your father.
Right.
And I was like, I don't believe that shit. I'm watching the VHS tape. This is probably just like they changed it in the remastered version or some bullshit. But no, it is no, I am your father.
Oh.
No, I am your father.
Okay.
So I had to Google more about this, and I see, cut to a clip, I see James Earl Jones recalling this exact instance where he's like, and when I first read, Luke, I am your father, I thought, no, it must be a lie. It can't be true. How did they spin this?
I can picture his voice saying all that.
When I first saw the dialogue that said, Luke, I am your father, I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that lie out.
And in multiple interviews, he's been asked kind of questions about it, and he says that exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's weird. But I'm like, Luke, no. I'm like, I guess I couldn't be misremembering it, and like shows could have said it like differently because of not trying to get like infringement or whatever.
You
But
could see with something like that where it like turned into that to capture the whole thing in like one sentence, and then that got spread around so much, and it's very similar. So your brain just sort
it's
of
similar enough.
fills it in or something.
So
like that.
I was like, all right, I'll let that one slide. But I still remember Luke, I am your father.
But you started getting the creepies.
But
You
yes,
started getting,
I did. I was like,
minute.
wait a minute. So to keep on the Star Wars trend,
Well,
this is
so-
one where it's a visual one.
Okay.
So visual ones, I'm like, I feel like that's harder to trick me. C-3PO?
Sure.
What does he look like? Just give me a brief description of what he looks like.
He's a golden, awkward robot. He has weird, like, connections in between his arms and stuff like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that would be how you described him, right?
Yeah.
If you were to draw a picture of him, you would need like maybe 2 crayons, like
Okay.
a yellow one.
Is this the thing where that arm's a different color?
His leg.
His leg is a different color. Something a different color.
His
yes.
leg
Okay.
is a different color, and I was like, yeah, they must have, in the newer 3, they must have changed it. 'Cause I remember at one point he was just like a silver facade before he got his like copper plating or whatever. I'm like, all right, but no, in the originals he was 100%. He was 100% copper.
Yeah, I guess.
But when you look back at it, it's clear as fucking day that one leg is completely silver, and I'm like, that was not like that.
I don't specifically remember it either way, so I can't even. And that's not something that I would have said.
I couldn't find my toys. I have toys with C-3PO, and I was like, I know the toys were copper, and if the toys were different,
Maybe they were.
Woo!
Maybe they were all golden, shiny, or something like that. Like that's what I would have said, but that's only because I have no reason to pay attention to or care about the the color of like the legs or whatever. I could see that being.
Have you
something.
seen Field of Dreams?
No, I don't like American inspirational movies.
Okay, but you know Kevin Costner.
My understanding is that if you build it, they will come.
So, if you
Did
build
I just nail it?
You nailed it
Yes!
without even knowing what the question was going to be. So the question was going to be,
build
what
it.
is the saying?
If you build it, they will come.
Is super famous.
Yes.
I can say that, and you know what movie that's from immediately.
Having not even seen it, because I'm like, there's no monsters in this. Turn this shit off. There's no vampires.
That line is not in the movie. The line that's in the movie is if you build it, he will come.
Oh, that's very close to though.
It's close, but it doesn't make any sense even for the movie.
It's his dead father's coming.
No, it doesn't make any
coming
sense.
everywhere.
It's so stupid. It was definitely they. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore.
A lot of this stuff. So I have not seen the movie, so I've only heard like the quotes. And I feel like that too could be like
You could be hearing a misquote.
Well, it could be like a meme that changed because like where have I heard that? Like SpongeBob SquarePants and there's a new Krabby Patty and we have to do this. If you build it, they will come. Like people just throw that in there like it's in Bugs Bunny cartoons.
But then this also adds
and
a
they're
lot of assumption.
Well, but they're usually talking about a group at that point, and it
guess.
just makes more sense or something like that. I'm just trying to be the voice
I know, you're
of
trying to be the,
rationality and reason here.
All right, Hitler.
Or something like
Let's
that.
continue.
It's just like Hitler was rational, wasn't he?
Famous adult diaper company.
Okay.
What do they call? What's the company?
Those diapers are called Depends.
What is the last letter on that word?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, S.
So depends, plural, depends.
Like
Everyone would answer that without a doubt. Depends.
Right.
The company's name is Depend.
Okay. Because you usually say that like put on your Depends. Like put on your like galoshes or something. I mean that's something that doesn't have an S though.
I can picture
There's
it.
got to be something.
I can picture it with an S.
Oh, like on
Like I
the,
can picture the label.
I can't picture the label at all.
So that was what I pictured it was. It was Depends. So this was one that again it's like word semantics. Movie with let's see what Anne Rice vampire movie.
Interview the Vampire.
Say it one more time.
Interview with the Vampire.
Interview with a vampire.
The Vampire.
The Vampire.
Yes.
They've got you.
What? It's a book too.
It is a book too.
Oh, everyone thinks it's Interview with a Vampire.
Yes, this one though
Yeah.
is the least convincing one because all and the sound very similar. Same
Yeah.
thing with there's a conspiracy over Sex in the City where it some people think
Where it's Sex in Our City.
in Sex and the City, Sex in the City.
Well, that again is just people.
That again, those words are too
The rates
similar.
of literacy are very low in this
No, so
country.
we're building up though.
Yes.
Those are like okay, those sound the same. Even
Well,
little
and
writing, they're tiny things. Sex,
but these
City are big in the.
But these are things like Chris Helmsworth, where it's like it's Hemsworth. or it's like Jared Leto or Leto or whatever.
Yeah, those are pronunciation things.
But it's something where like everyone knows that, and no one's saying it wrong now. No one's saying Chipotle or something like that. People have
My favorite
we've all
one
fixed
was
that. But now you're saying
what
wait
the hell's
a minute,
Jarhead's name?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal is how you actually pronounce it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Does he say that?
Yeah.
I feel like people get like a certain level of fame, and then they go, okay, it's time. Tell everyone how to actually pronounce my name.
Maybe.
Because it was Jared Leto for my whole, like, fucking 30 Seconds to Mars in high school and all that shit, and now it's Leto. Right? Is it? Did I get it backwards? I might have
Now I'm not sure which way
I
it
might have
goes.
flipped it in my head, but that's what it's like.
No, I hear you. And that's certainly
where he
possible.
showed up and said, fucking change it. But they didn't do that with Field of Dreams.
So
I'm
I
just saying
can't
for
recall
this.
what this actual location's name is. I have a vague thing that I could probably trigger your memory with.
Yeah.
Tiananmen Square?
Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square.
Tank Man.
So what happened in that video?
Zoom out, a bunch of tanks. A dude is standing there. There's a tank. It's a picture. It's famous.
But do you recall the video? Do you know what happens? In this?
Video? No, I didn't have video then. That was etched into a stone tablet.
Okay, so the thing I recall is a man walks out, he stops in front of the line of tanks, he goes like this, he puts his hand up like, stop. The tanks run him down, and that got all this controversy.
Oh. I've
If
only
you
seen,
watch-
I've only seen a still photo of
If
it.
you watch the video now of that encounter, it even looks fake. It strikes me as so weird. So the guy comes out, he does this. Like 1 second later, he like walks. He like gets up on top of the tank. He like gets off. He gets back on the thing, and like a cop like just pulls him off to the side,
Okay.
and it's over.
If you had asked me, do those tanks run that guy over, I would have said no. Because I've only seen like a still shot, and I didn't think that he got... Because there was another thing where a dude like lights himself on fire or like
there's
whatever.
a lot of those.
And I've seen
That's
that.
a monk thing.
Yeah, but I've definitely seen that, but I've never seen the tank run over thing. I've also never heard like this guy's name and he died on that day or something like that. So I'm okay with that one.
There's a lot of ones of people have different memory dates of when Bob Barker died.
Bob Barker's dead!
Dick Clark's no, Bob Barker's not dead.
Oh. Well, that's why I don't
People
think he died.
Dick Clark, there's multiple dates on when he died.
Dick Clark is dead.
Dick Clark died many times.
Is he dead?
He's dead.
Oh, when did he die?
I don't know. Well, officially, like a few years ago.
Okay.
Unofficially, I think
Oh, he
in
had
the
like a
70s
stroke
or
and
80s
stuff.
or
That was
something.
really sad, right?
Yeah.
He did like one more, watch the ball drop, and it was
Something
like,
like
oh, but, it looks so good.
And one we've talked about before, but under a different context, was the famous book series of Bears.
Berenstain Bears?
I noticed you called them the Berenstain Bears.
Yes.
Berenstein is their name now.
But it's not
Now.
right. But everyone would still say the Berenstain. I don't even like remember the Bears. I just remember if you go, I go, what, Berenstain Bear? I just know that. I think I was a little. I don't know if I was too old or if my parents just weren't into bears. But that was not like a.
I
super
remember the
part of my life.
cartoon, and
Right.
and like I definitely saw these books. They had them in schools and shit like that, but I don't think I read the books.
They're super
I remember,
famous.
yes, they're
Yes,
famous as fuck. I
definitely.
could recognize them completely. There's some monster series too that I also remember. That came out at the same time. But regardless,
Dr. Berenstein's monster.
yeah, of course. So the thing that got me though is I remember hearing this name from the cartoon. So it's not a thing where I heard it wrong. I didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, you didn't mispronounce it. You Steinstein. You're a kid. You're a moron.
Or like parents don't even think till whatever.
Yeah,
and then
whatever.
You hear it once
But
and you just run with it.
you would
or something.
assume the person who is on I'm the director of this thing. I will make sure they pronounce the name correctly. And
Right.
again, maybe they didn't.
Or it's flipped the other way.
Maybe they didn't. But the biggest thing here, like with that one, was that is something that a lot of people know, and
Yeah.
and it is flopped. So where
That's
does this?
tougher because, like, unlike C-3PO's leg, I can't go back and, like, read it again or whatever because I never saw the cartoon, but everyone was saying it the other way. I didn't even know that there was a cartoon. I'm not even sure how this entered my life. But if it's something you can go back, if it's like, no one reads books, but a book could be the best. Or like a newspaper headline being different than everyone thinks it was, that would get me because that's physical and like exists. It's not just like the pronunciation of like a word being read out loud, which I feel like there's a lot of room for interpretations and fuckery and all that stuff.
So, had you read these books, that would have been a bigger thing for you than C-3PO's leg?
No. Like, had it been something, because that's the pronunciation of like a written word versus something visual or like audible that I would have heard.
Which one is the
and
bigger
now-
like thing for you? Like, what is the biggest convincing?
Either way, as long as I would have been exposed to it then, and now I can go back. Had I watched the cartoon and thought I heard one thing, but it's really something else, had I seen it and I thought it's something else, that's cool. But
the biggest one for me,
this one
and
doesn't
it's dumb,
line up with me or
is
something. Yeah.
is C-3PO's leg.
Really?
That's the biggest one for me because I see that movie used to be on TV all the time. I've seen it hundreds of times. I own it in multiple versions. His leg was fucking gold.
Would it have ever mattered though what color his leg was? Do you have any reason to like remember that specifically?
I've drawn this character for something I sell from memory. Like,
yes, but it makes total sense for you to just, because he's mostly that color, just make him that color.
no, I would totally remember.
Like, unless there was a part of the story where his leg was damaged and had to be like replaced, and now it's a different color. Unless he commented on it, I wouldn't even think that I'd like remember. He's like dirty for half of it in like the desert or something.
No,
I don't know.
it was a big one for me, and like, cause like anything that's like the auditory ones. Like, again, you could have heard it wrong. It could just be like, oh no, like a popular misquote of it happened, and then like people misquoted that, and they kept going with it. But like, I'm like, I saw that. Like, that, what?
Well, so let's loop around now. We're talking about all these things that people don't remember as they are, or something like that. What is the Mandela effect? Like, what is it?
So what the
saying?
theory of this Mandela effect is that big super collider thing in Europe.
Large Hadron Collider.
Hadron Collider. So like that thing, they're saying
Atom
that like
smasher.
when using that for whatever reason as a byproduct
Smashing atoms.
or its original, well, this is all conspiracy theory,
Okay,
so
okay.
it might not even do what they say it does.
It's a portal directly to hell. We're feeding off the energy of hell.
The teat of hell. Or it's just a byproduct of what it is doing,
Yeah.
is merging multiple realities.
Yeah.
So it's a reality that's very close to ours, like 99.9% the same as ours, but slightly different. And with the merging of the two of them, you're getting people from both, and the memories are...
Okay.
So you may have half of our reality somewhere else, so those people are remembering things differently than here, and vice
So
versa.
it isn't that people's memories are being changed.
No, it's that
It's
the past
that,
is changing,
It's that you are
but
being...
you are not changing.
It's that the walls between realities are breaking down, and now you're in one where
You're
Nelson
in a
Mandela's
world,
dead.
yes, where he's
Yeah.
dead, but in your world, he was alive.
And like the molecules in your brain transferred or whatever over, and they
Correct.
still have the other memories or something
Yeah.
like that. Huh.
But like, it's one of those things where it's such a weird thing because you can't ever. It's only what's in your mind, and you can't fact check it because it's gone.
Yeah.
So many people just go, I remembered it wrong, whatever, blah 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 blah.
Right.
So that's what's so cool and creepy about
Well,
this.
so
for
this this gives you like the willies. Do you remember John dies at the end?
Of course I remember
Because this
John
was
dies
part
at
of
the
a
end.
theme of there. I won't get into that. You should read that if you can find it. I recommend finding the HTML files that I saved onto my hard drive before it got taken down, and not getting the physical book, which you should buy to support what's his name,
David Wong.
Yeah.
I have his books in physical form,
think
but I
it-
also had your version, and
like-
I've also seen the books on
Well,
tape.
it changed in like print form for good reasons.
Oh, 'cause it has the
Again,
same pictures.
we're getting so fucking. But on like the web, there were like animated GIFs and links to like Wikipedia pages, and this crazy. It's like a creepy indie horror story, but that's like nothing else you've ever seen before. One of the concepts in it is that there are shadow people, and if they kill you, they like erase you from like memory as well.
A genius concept.
They kill you in like the past, present, and future. And there's a theme of that running through. We're going to skip over the obvious ones. There was one little quote where like, so certain people that have, I'll call them powers, like in this example, are for whatever reason have like a vague memory that something is different, something is wrong. And there's a cool, exchange once with the guy who says like, all of a sudden I woke up, one morning and like every kid was in front of their TV playing a game with a gun on the screen, just like shooting people. And it just acted like it was the most normal thing in the world. I don't understand what's going on. Because for him, that wasn't how it had always been. And like the bad guy horror demons had like changed something to like tilt the world into like that thing or whatever. And that's a silly thing, and it has some loaded like topics to it. But just imagine waking up one morning and having never seen all those video games that everyone plays constantly, and just realizing every little kid from the time they're like 3 years old is fucking murdering people, they're shooting people in the face like every day. This is fucking crazy. That would have a serious, creepy, weird impact on me or whatever.
I want to put a little asterisk here and say, do not watch the movie though. John Dies at the end of the movie
Oh,
is
shit.
dog shit. It
Yeah.
took it's as if they were like, okay, we got a 400-page script, let's just shoot 100 pages of it and call it a day. Like, there's no beginning, middle, or end that actually go with the story, and the budget was too small to make any of those concepts hit. Read the book, it's amazing.
It's actually fascinating how bad the movie is, because a lot of the cool shit because you might think, like, well, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're recommending something I never heard of. Watching the movie will actually ruin any of the print material for you, because they've like blown their wad. All the cool little ideas are in the movie, just executed very poorly, and it's a disaster. So literally avoid the movie. I apologize to a few of the actors were kind of good, and the filmmakers and all that stuff who tried and put all their time into it, but please never watch that at all ever until you've experienced it in some other form. It is deadly. Is there more on this list?
I was trying to cut through this. While I'm going to look through this list, I'm going to say a little side note.
How long is this list?
I don't know.
Does it seem like endlessly long of things and stuff like that? It's
fairly long, but like you're looking for the ones that actually like stand out to, anything. One that was interesting was a lot of people, and again, this one doesn't really click with me because I don't remember this.
Yeah,
I'm not old enough.
Fire
they
off
said that
for the old
there
people.
was an island around the size of New Zealand to the left of Australia, and it's not there anymore.
That's fake.
And if you look, and the weird thing of it is if you look at the movie, I think it was Dazed and Confused, there's like a still that someone put up where like they're like talking, and like if you look at the globe that's between the two characters, like right here, you can see a landmass on the left of Australia.
Huh.
Like, and it's not just like a flipped picture because New Zealand is there also.
Yeah, it's a weird place. Yeah.
And it was just like, and that seemingly was the only thing that someone was like, I found it. It's there. It's in that movie. Somehow it didn't get wiped from that movie.
That is such a weird thing because that indicates.
Well, that means that version of the movie came from our dimension and not the other one. And very cool.
That's interesting.
But there was a lot of things like that. There was a really cool one that and oh shit.
That didn't happen.
That's worse. There was a cool thing where it was from a gentleman
Technology.
landed in Japan. I believe it was Japan. Again, none of this is fact-checked, and it's all just for fun. A man landed in Japan.
Entertainment purposes only.
And when you land, they ask for your passport. So he gives him his passport, and it says he's from, I think it was like Heeds. Like, that was the country he was from.
Okay.
And they're like, that's not a country. And he starts to get belligerent. He's like, what do you mean? He shows him his driver's license. It says, like, blah, blah.
Also Heeds.
He has his checks that, like, everything checked out was all linked to this country. It doesn't exist. So they're like, like, all right, we have to detain you. We don't know if you're a terrorist or whatever the fuck this is. And they put him in either it was a hotel room with a guard outside or a jail. I forget which one what it was, but either way he was detained, and then like just disappeared the next day. Like,
oh,
he's
Jesus
gone.
Christ! I've never heard this one, but I love stupid these like little stories like that and shit like that. I wonder how much there is like backing that up. It's Japanese though, so it's like even translated and stuff. Yeah. That's rough.
I'm looking for just a straight-up list.
So, like, a lot of those things come from a time when there weren't, like, cell phone cameras and bullshit like that, which is unfortunate. I'm waiting for some of that creepy shit to happen, like, now. And maybe it's all fake, and that's why it doesn't happen as much now. But I'm super interested in something like that has a little more meat to it that I can, like, hook into, besides some, like, old document from a security guard or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. So here's one that, like, you may remember.
Like,
so
I wanna, like, oh, it looks so juicy.
HR Puffin Stuff. How was it spelled? Remember HR Puffin Stuff?
I'm not that old. No.
No, I remember him.
Well, I remember joking about HR Puffin Stuff because HR Buffin Stuff, but I don't know. I never like watched. That's a show. It's a kids show, TV show. Yeah, I never like.
Really trippy.
Oh.
So since you don't remember, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna cite that one as the same, but it's spelled allegedly differently. Yeah,
sure.
There's a lot of little things like that, like with bullshit. But a lot of them are like spelling and pronunciation and like things like that, which make it harder to prove. And I don't want to say like there could be a spin doctor out there from like some agency that might know more about this that is like starting these types of rumors that are like really like oh, Sex in the City, Sex and the City, obviously that's blah blah blah, like discrediting thing, like when people that report fake UFOs or put up videos of fake bullshit, because like the more you pollute the world, the more you see scammers. Like
okay, sure.
So that could be...
We're talking about like a false flag of these things to like put out obvious dumb ones, basically, to make it into a thing where anyone suggesting that the past has been altered and has some sort of proof now is like, well, that's just that other shit. I heard about that on Imager. That's dumb.
Yes. I can't find the goddamn...
I think
comprehensive
sadly,
list
so
of
like
these.
part of what made John Dies at the end cool is that it was so good. I keep going back to
is a
this. I
fucking
apologize.
YouTube.
Was that because like to me it's like, oh, that's playing on how human memory like works and how it's like, you know, as a human whatever, and I know that, but still it gives me like the creeps when you hear some
Oh
of this
yeah,
stuff.
the
And
best
that's the most
example of that
interesting thing.
was like he's like you wake up like, you know, a thunderclaps and like you wake up, but like that happened in the dream.
Right,
Like, how did your mind know that was going to happen right then to
Right.
correlate that to that?
Like you're dreaming, there's a storm, this is happening, all these things happen, then right as this happens, whatever.
It's
how
like a
did your
bomb
brain
goes
know to
off,
time
and
it?
that's the explosion noise of the
Exactly, yeah.
thunder clapping.
Or like when you hear like a new word, you always hear it again a few more times.
Yes.
And it's like, what the fuck? And you know, like, because it's like new to you, but like, why is it being like reinforced and then forgotten again? And you're like, no, I understand like all the words I hear. I'm not like leaving some out until one pops up and I notice it, and then I start leaving it out again. Like, right? You hear a lot of words all day, but you know what they all mean, don't you? But how could I not? It's like freaky. It's gets under your skin or something like that.
Do you remember? So this is one that I haven't heard of. I don't recall this off the top of my head.
Let's
Do you remember when Columbine happened? What year?
Oh.
You were in school.
I was in school. Hold on.
You remember what grade? Because you
Wait.
could probably math this.
I can math this. Thank you. I have a story about Columbine. I'll tell a story to stall, and
And do math in the background.
because I can't do math in the foreground. Columbine happened and I was in high school. I don't know if we had like a day off or something happened, but it was like freaky. And I'm like not into the news or something, but it was weird like talking to parents and all that stuff. We're back in school, or like the next day that we're back in school. It had to be the very next day. But I think we like went home. I don't know what time of the day this happened, but I think like school like shut down that day or something like that. But the next day that we're in school normally, we're in like second period or something like that, and we're like, and I don't know this guy's name anymore, but let's say his name was like Mike Dillon or whatever, just to pick a dumb. And it's like,
Okay, Mike Dillon.
Did you hear Mike got shot by a cop? And we're like, what? And it turned out, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously because that would be trap, but it turns out that didn't happen. But we had a dude, as every school had at least one dude, who like painted his fingernails black and wore like skulls and fucking like, dude, I don't give a fuck, and like, I'm gonna pierce things with safety pins, and like wore a trench coat and had long hair like just every day. And he was off huffing glue or something and didn't watch the news because like, why would he? He's fucking whatever, and just walked into school like that. But the next day they'd put like a cop at the main entrance, and the cop saw him and was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about, or whatever. And they had this thing, and I wasn't there, so I don't know if she really pulled a gun on him, but he was like 6'7" or some shit. He was a gigantic motherfucker, and it was a female cop in the story, so she might have reached for, touched, and or pulled her gun on him because he got predictably belligerent about being questioned about his style of dress or whatever the fuck. But that shit's fucking crazy. He was older than me, and he was still going to school, so that would put me in high school, but not that old, possibly like freshman or like sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
So how old are you in high school?
I think you're 13 in the first year, 14, 15. No, that doesn't make sense.
No.
14,
The kids,
15,
the kids,
16, 17?
the kids in South Park are 8, and they're in 3rd grade, right?
Well, when you graduate, you're usually just about 18.
Okay.
Or not yet. Like you're like your next year would be you're either 17 or 18 graduating.
Okay, so that puts Columbine in like 95, 96, 97, 96 average time?
Okay, so you fall in the people that remember it how it didn't happen.
Okay.
It happened in 99 apparently. Now how old were you? Does that make sense at all even for math for this?
Could I have been a junior then? And he was a senior? He was not in my grade. He was like an older kid. Did we just crack the case? I'm going to have to sit down and actually figure this out or whatever the fuck.
Because it happened in 99.
Because I guess I shouldn't start because you can probably figure it out quicker than I can. I'm desperately trying to avoid giving my age or whatever the fuck. But
I'm trying to think. I was in middle school, I think, when that happened.
If it happened in 99 and it's 2016 now, right? So it takes 10 years to get to 2009. 10 more for 20 years would have put us in 2019 or whatever the fuck, right?
Oh no, wait. I was in. Wait. I was in. Wait. Am I thinking it's the other way?
So it's 17 years ago, basically, right?
Hang on.
Is what I'm trying to say.
99.
2016 and 99 or whatever.
This is weird because I'm trying to think how old was I when this happened, and I thought I was in middle school. But if I'm in middle school, I graduated in 2005 from high school. So middle school would have been. I graduated middle school in 2001. Middle school is how many years? Is middle school only 2 years?
Yeah, it was 17 years ago.
Middle school is 5th and 6th. That doesn't make sense. Maybe it didn't happen.
Okay, so 17 years ago, I was 16. Which makes sense to be like maybe a sophomore or a junior in high school.
Yes. Okay. That's proven? It happened? Okay.
Does it?
I don't know.
But that was still freaky. I know that journey may have been boring for the people at home, but to think for even a brief second that maybe something that you remembered so vividly either didn't happen when you thought it did or the way you thought it did is really freaky. Anchors like that are really important too. Graduating, switching things, something like that.
And oftentimes I don't have any of those. I'm like the worst where I'm like, I don't know. The only one I really, and I guess it just proves that a lot of things didn't have a big impact on me.
Oh.
Like where were you when September 11th happened?
I
slept in, right?
I have a September 11th story. Oh God, all the bad stories are happening today. September 11th, I was supposed to go do something with my friends. I've been up late the night before or whatever, and I get a call from like my friend Scott, and he's like, "Yeah, we can't. We're in the city. We like can't get back or something. We were doing something. I don't know. His fucking buildings are blowing up or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you know when I'm back in town or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, word." And like went back to bed. Then my mom like tried to wake me up. Like, there's an event happening, like terrorism. The planes are hitting buildings, and I was like, yes, that's. I rolled over. I rolled over and back. I woke up at like 2:00 in the afternoon, and my stepfather was just glued to the news, being like, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, yeah, mom said something, whatever. Is this serious? And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh. All right, and I like went to the kitchen, like breakfast time or whatever. I am the worst, and I would be a different person today. Maybe drugs were involved, but that's still no excuse. I had zero, like I was super teenager, does not care about shit about whatever this. I hadn't seen it yet. Once you see it on the TV, you're like, what the fuck or whatever.
No, it's real.
But just hearing people desperately trying to get through to me and me being like, listen, I was up late doing video games. I gotta go back to bed.
I was in high school. I was in freshman year of high school, and I recall vividly this day as maybe one of the only days I can actually recall with some detail. I was in Mr. Sprung's small engine repair class in Bergen Vocational School, and we're there, fucking around, doing bullshit. And all the it's a vocational school that a lot of kids are either kicked out of home district or just want to learn a trade, go to this school. So you have a lot of kids who are also in the fire department, like they're volunteers.
Oh,
so
the
things start to go off,
yeah.
And they're like, "What the fuck?" And like some of the teachers there are even firemen, so like their shit goes off, and like they like immediately like know some shit's up, and they turn the TV on, and like so the TV comes on, and like the first building is like smoking, and you're like oh shit, and the teacher like so we all just sit down, the class stops, and we're just watching TV now, and I remember the weirdest part, and like it's weird to say this is the weirdest part of the day, but the weirdest part of the day is he produces a garbage bag from under his desk, and it's filled with chocolate-covered cherries. Just think about that for a second. He has a garbage bag full of them, chocolate-covered cherries. Now, granted, down the hall there's other buildings across, there's like a culinary school, and I'm sure they made them there, and they're like, oh, we make them in the batches of hundreds, here's a garbage bag full. But as a kid, not putting two and two together, and like there's weird shit happening, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he pulled out this thing with these delicious chocolate-covered cherries are fucking expensive, and you're like, he's got a fucking garbage bag full of them. I'm just reaching in, grabbing a handful, he just gave like, here kids, have some fucking...
I have two questions.
Sure.
One, are you saying he was in on it and he was ready with the cherries there to console you when 9/11 happened?
I'm not saying that, Mr. Sprung.
Mr. Sprung, we're on to you. Your trap is set. Part two, did they have pits in them?
No pits.
Ooh, you can just pop them right in?
They pop them right in.
Oh, man.
They're amazing.
Were they maraschino?
They're
or
like when you say
cherries?
chocolate-covered cherries,
Yeah,
though,
what are we
like
dealing with there?
they're like little like There are cylinders with flat tops and a cherry on the inside with a gooey, delicious filling, but a whole cherry nonetheless.
Is the cherry like a maraschino cherry? Like in a
I would
drink?
say it's on that.
Or is it
it's on
kind of
that,
like a real? Is it like a pickled cherry, pickled in sugar?
It's like pickled in sugar, like a maraschino cherry would be.
I'm dying.
And just ate just so much of these things as we were watching, because at the time it's like, oh, not working, whatever, some smoke, whatever. And then when that first building fell, it became super real, and it was like, what? Like, I could see that skyline from my house, and I could no longer see it ever again. Like, it was super weird.
Real quick, where we grew up in Jersey, one of our many main streets was a road called Route 17 that has a bunch of gigantic hills because we're very north in Jersey. And as you come over the crest of one hill, you could see the entire New York skyline on most days, and especially most nights, with the Empire State Building, the Twin Towers. Like, fuck. It was literally...
It was something I saw pretty much every day of my, like, young life.
In the years that followed, well, like the weeks and months especially, you'd be going south and look and go like, oh shit, that's right. Fuck.
That was really,
like,
really weird.
We were not like, we didn't have like dust on our faces or whatever, but it was very much a thing. You could not just be like, oh, that's tragic, and like forget about it. People that we knew's like parents or like people.
One of my teachers, her husband was there.
Yeah, like people who knew people were either there, involved, saw some shit. I think someone died from the high school, one of the parents or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like crazy.
No, because like we live like a half an hour from the city, so like people work there.
Yes.
Super weird. Like, what a crazy day.
I was about to say, like, you lead such a charmed life. You so have like anime protagonist luck that even the most tragic terror event in the history of the United States for you was not only a bowl of cherries, it was a bag of cherries. How is this possible? Right, the best cherries, novelty candy cherries.
Yeah. No, I'm a fortunate, lucky man.
But luckily it got real.
It certainly took a hard twist. Because think about that. Like, anytime there's like, oh, the fire alarm went off. Get to dick around outside for like an hour. It was like that with candy. And then it got like super real.
Yeah, without getting too heavy, like, as Americans, from where we live, from what happens here, like, nothing is ever a thing. Even, like, a fire is never a fire. It's usually just smoke and some bullshit, right? Like, like, one thing burns down ever, and you go, Or, like, the cops come and it's really someone's hurt. Like it never, like, the vast majority of the time, it's just, like, go over there, line up.
We live in a world of false alarms and bullshit.
So, like, how did this get to 9/11? Is 9/11 real? Did the memories of 9/11 get changed by Nelson Mandela?
Yes. No. There was no mention of that.
I'm shocked some stuff about that didn't get on the list because there's a ton of conspiracy stuff about it.
But those are like conspiracies and theories. I don't think any of them are about the time-space continuum being broken.
I would like loop stuff in. If I was into conspiracies, if I had that, and I do, I'm constantly fighting myself and also against myself or whatever, but you could loop in some of these theories together because every theory has some stuff in it where it starts to get ridiculous. Like, we are projecting a hologram of the space station, that's why you can see it with telescopes. There's a certain point where it's like, well, that's too much, that's crazy. But maybe some other conspiracy could explain little elements of some of these things or whatever.
I suppose that's possible.
So a lot of the discrepancies about the people who were there on, like, 9/11 that throw wrenches in, like, the conspiracy theory people's things could be explained by the memories being different or something, or different timelines or whatever.
No, it's like people that saw the explosion before the hit. That could have been from a different timeline when it wasn't done with a plane or I don't know. That's about the extent of these ones that I have in front of me at the moment.
So there is a relatively long list, but it's a lot of stuff that we don't think would
apply to us. It's a lot of like things where like, and I don't want to say like these are things that are stupid, so like they debunk the whole thing, but like. I'll do a more comprehensive. I may make a personal channel video like
deeper
of
research
these things, where I go through it and because there's a lot of people have done documentaries on this, but like this one doesn't cover that, this doesn't cover this, and my angle is solely movies and nerdism stuff. Like,
when you want to comment stuff, and you can make there's a lot of compelling things for this where you can phrase it like questions like that, and a lot of viewers would be like, oh, it's if you believe they will come. And then you can play the clip and be like, holy shit. That stuff.
No, and you try to play devil's advocate with some of these things where it's like, well, maybe just like in the cartoon version he was fully copper and the toys were copper and the blah, blah, blah. But
maybe.
I don't know. It's such a weird thing. And then when you see the thing like the Dazed and Confused like map where it's like, well, maybe certain ones bled through here and not there. And like the cartoons might not have affected anything based on that thing. Like, I don't know. It's very strange. It's something that makes you think. I love these kind of things that make you think. This whole thing came apart. I should say this part was... My girlfriend was having like deja vu.
Ooh.
But like not the whole like I think we've covered this topic before, kind of deja vu. Like deja vu where it's like she's like, I would go to work, I would like walk in, a woman would like put down like a basket, she'd be wearing a white shirt and blah blah blah. I'd see this person would say something and like she's like I remember like multiple steps of what's gonna happen next. And so she was Googling like massive deja vu or blah blah,
yeah.
and then this like came up where like people are remembering things that did or didn't happen and blah blah blah. But yeah, the Mandela effect. Look into it. It's
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge party pooper, so it might be worth picking out the most compelling ones and putting them together. I find the brain really fascinating. There's I'm not sure how to pronounce the French, but there's déjà vu and there's jamais vu. There's the opposite of déjà vu. Déjà vu is when something feels familiar, but you don't think it could be. Like something like I've been here before. I've done this before, and yet I know that can't be true because I usually don't go this way home from work.
And the other one is you feel like you have done it before, but it feels like the first time.
The other one's the opposite, where something feels unusual and different, and like it's not supposed to be this way. When you know intellectually, no, Bob's worked here for 7 years, and we always go to lunch there and all that stuff. And you're like, really? You like that? I thought you hated pizza. And you're doing this whole thing, and it's like the opposite of whatever. But
this though, like my quick thing, I flash forward to Nikki, like saying we've always done that when we haven't, and I'm like, maybe we did always do that.
We just don't know or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. As the resident party pooper, though, for me, it's just like, oh, the brain is so fascinating, and it's interesting how memories work and how stuff happens and all that stuff.
It's just weird, though.
It's so much fun, even for just a little while, because we never feel that feeling anymore. We don't live in a world of, like, shamans and, like, mystical creatures or whatever, because we live in 2016 in, like, New Jersey. So just that little spark of, like, wait a minute, what year did that happen? No, I know when I graduated. Oh, fuck. Just that feeling.
Yeah, no, that's what I like.
Just getting the creeps.
You're chasing the creeps.
It's like any other hit. I need another hit of the willies.
To me, it really knocks in harder when you're with a group, though, and you're like, okay, guys, everyone seen Field of Dreams? Yeah. What's the line? If you build it, they will come. And everyone's 100% certain of that. And then it's like,
scratch,
no,
play
that's not
tape.
that.
Oh,
people were freaking out when I was like, no, it's no, I'm your father.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's awesome. Because you feed on each other, and you can feel, it's like telling ghost stories around a campfire and shit like that.
Well,
like
I usually awesome. I layer in my spin a little deeper, where I'm
definitely.
I'm like, well, the thought is that the giant, I always say Hadron Collider, I don't know what the fuck it's called.
I think it's Hadron?
Hadron?
I don't know.
The Hadron Collider, while smashing atoms may have a byproduct where it is smashing our reality and mixing it with something else, changing, altering our past in small but noticeable ways. What's the most famous line from Star Wars featuring Luke and Darth Vader? Luke, I'm your father. What if I were to tell you it's no, I'm your father?
What if I were to tell you that I could prove this right now, that you can't find a copy where it matches your memory?
Isn't that weird, though?
It is. No, it's great. It's fucking great. I love shit like that.
Because I've physically said, Luke, I'm your father, 100 times, referencing
I think
Star
everyone
Wars.
has.
I know, it's so, that's like...
And those are the ones where, like, everyone knows that, but it's not that way or something like that, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Everyone says depends. Yeah. Everybody.
I can't picture because you can picture the label. Maybe that came, I don't know if that's chicken or the egg or whatever, you just heard it so much.
But that's what's annoying is there's no way to check any of this. It's just like, all right, fuck. Collider? A collider? A big collider? Maybe it's colliding my fucking...
I said at one point, it's like, well, this is all very interesting, but the main issue for me is that isn't what the Large Hadron Collider does, or something like that. But I said that or like way early or whatever. But cool...
that's because this is either a byproduct or the real version of what it is.
Cool
it's a conspiracy
about all
for
this
a reason.
is that the multiple like realities and dimensions things, and this has been like thoroughly raped by science fiction forever, but that's like a real theory. That's like every possible thing that could go one way or the other splits off a new, one of many infinite...
Fringe does this well.
Infinite dimensions that could happen.
But so let's say we have this collider where it's smashing atoms. What if in the other reality we're merged with, it was really like a reality smasher or something where like they were trying to find other dimensions or holes or another blah, blah, blah. But now that they've done this and fucked up or whatever, it's come together, and now in our reality, the only thing we have left is that collider.
I could do two things. One, there's
you could do at least three things. I believe in you.
The list gets hazy after the first two. The first one would be like You're colliding these atoms, and when subatomic particles interact, some weird shit can happen. There's a famous thing, Google the double slit test, where, long story short, a particle can appear to be going through multiple slits at the same time, which makes no sense. There's explanations for it, but it's super freaky. The other thing is, presumably, if you're smashing atoms, if you're doing crazy subatomic force in like one spot, there's a bunch of other dimensions where we also built this collider. And the dimensions may be linked in some way, subatomically or like whatever, and a bunch of shit all smashing at once might create a sort of point at which things could, the deflector grid, reverse polarity, and therefore the focused beam of neutrinos, etc., etc., etc.
Etc.
I think the theory checks out. You'll find.
But yeah, it's super weird, super dope. Look into it. Again, it's called the Mandela effect. And until next time, don't die in a fire.
Adios.
We talked for a long ass time.
I have to think of a better name than the Mandela effect.
Well, I would call it the C-3PO effect.
I like that. That'll have more
or
legs.
the silver leg effect, or
Kids.
something.
No, silver leg effect blows it. And you get to the end of like 23 minutes, and why do we call it the C-3PO effect?
Yeah.
Here's a picture of C-3PO. Lovable golden robot C-3PO. Right? Wrong! And go through this whole fucking... You will have people fucking freaking out. It'll be amazing. It's so hot!
Well, that shouldn't have worked.
No. You broke it. It's stuck on now forever.
That's fine.
I prefer that, honestly.
Yeah.
I've left the house for like a day and left it on.
Yeah.
My bill's going to be like $100. $200.
More than that.
Good night, America.